A mother and her son, sitting together in a small apartment, making a decision no one could ever imagine. He was just hours away from turning 18, a milestone that should have been filled with hope, dreams, and the excitement of adulthood. But instead, his life was slipping away. And the one person who was supposed to protect him, his own mother, was the one responsible. Katie Austin Lee was a mother like any other. She had spent 17 years raising her son, Austin Pikaart, watching him grow, guiding him through life. But something had changed. Somewhere along the way their world became smaller, darker. On the outside they seemed like any other mother and son. But inside that apartment, a heartbreaking reality was unfolding. Austin didn't want to turn 18. That's what his mother told the police. That he had begged her to help him end everything. But was that really the truth? Or was there something deeper, something no one saw coming? It was a quiet Thursday afternoon. The kind of day that felt like nothing special. The blinds were halfway closed, letting in just enough light to make the room feel dim. The walls held the echoes of a mother and son who had spent years together, but today, they barely spoke. At 1 p.m., Katie said they made a decision, one that couldn't be undone. They sat together, side by side, and took a handful of pills, hoping that by the time the sun set, they'd both be gone. But the hours passed, and nothing happened. Austin was still here. She was still here. And for the first time, reality set in. This wasn't over. As the evening crept in, something shifted. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was regret. Maybe it was something else entirely. And then, Katie says, Austin asked her again. He didn't want to wake up in the morning. He didn't want to face 18. He needed her to help him. And this time, she did. The room was silent. The air was heavy. And then, in one irreversible moment, a mother took a knife and did something no mother should ever have to do. And just like that, Austin was gone. But was it really his choice? Or was there more to the story? Because when the truth finally came out, it left everyone wondering, was this a heartbreaking pact? Or was it something far, far worse? Stay with us because this story is just beginning. Welcome to True Crime Stories videos. I welcome you, my viewers, and most especially my subscribers, for your support as we keep improving and bringing you daily told and untold true crime stories. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. The information presented in this video is based on publicly available data and sources. The purpose of this content is to raise awareness about the issues and events that are happening around the world. While we strive to provide accurate information, we may not always capture the exact details of an event. If you were present at the event or have first-hand knowledge, we encourage you to share your perspective and engage in a constructive dialogue. Our goal is to spark meaningful conversations and raise awareness, not to spread misinformation. Katie Austin Lee wasn't someone you'd expect to be at the center of such a heartbreaking crime. She was a mother, just like so many others, trying to raise her child the best way she knew how. She wasn't famous. She wasn't in the news. She was just another woman living a quiet life in Holland, Michigan. A single mother doing her best. But behind closed doors, life wasn't as simple as it seemed. Raising a child alone isn't easy. And for Katie, that struggle was real. Maybe she had moments of love, of joy, like any mother does. But there were also moments of isolation, of worry, of uncertainty. Did she feel like she was failing? Did she believe she and Austin had no way out? No one really knows what was going through her mind. But one thing is certain, something led her down a road where the only answer she saw was tragedy. Austin Pikaart was just 17. A boy on the edge of adulthood with his whole life ahead of him. What kind of kid was he? Was he quiet? Outgoing? Did he love video games? Music? Did he have big dreams for the future? The truth is, not much is publicly known about him. But we do know this, he was days away from stepping into a new chapter of life. And for some reason he didn't want to take that step. What? Was he afraid of the future? Struggling with something no one knew about? Or was there another reason, one hidden behind his mother's words? No one can say for sure. But what we do know is that Austin's life ended before he ever got the chance to find out what adulthood would bring. A mother and her son, there's supposed to be love in that relationship. Protection. A bond that nothing can break. But in this case, that bond led to something unthinkable. Katie claimed that Austin wanted this. That he asked for it. But even if that were true, why would a mother go through with it? Was she trying to help him? Or was she leading him down a path he couldn't escape? It's a question that lingers. A question that makes this case even harder to understand. Because no matter what, one thing is undeniable. At the end of it all, Austin lost his life. And his mother was the one who took it. Looking back, were there signs? Did anyone notice a change in Austin? Did he seem withdrawn? Did Katie seem overwhelmed? It's easy to wonder if something could have stopped this. If a friend, a teacher, a neighbor saw something, anything, that pointed to what was coming. Maybe there were signs, little moments that hinted at the storm building inside that apartment. But no one put the pieces together. And by the time anyone realized what had happened, it was too late. A mother, a son, a decision that can never be undone. But what really happened inside that apartment? Because the more investigators uncovered, the more questions began to rise. And what they found next would shake this case even more. Stay with us because the story is far from over. A mother should be her child's protector. The one person who fights to keep them safe no matter what. But in this story something went terribly wrong. Katie Austin Lee told police that her son, Austin, didn't want to turn 18. That he begged her to help him end everything before his birthday. She claimed they made a pact, a heartbreaking, irreversible agreement. But why? Turning 18 is supposed to be a milestone, a moment of freedom, of new beginnings. Why would Austin be so afraid of it? Was it fear of responsibility? Was there something deeper that no one knew about? Or was his mother the one pushing him toward this tragic decision? Katie said it was what he wanted. But even if it was, how could a mother go through with it? It's a question that still lingers. A question that makes this story so much harder to understand. Thursday afternoon, 1 p.m. Inside their apartment, the air was heavy. The kind of silence that doesn't feel peaceful, it feels suffocating. Katie said they sat together and took handfuls of pills, swallowing them one after another. She thought this would be it. That soon everything would just stop. But the hours passed, and nothing happened. Austin was still here. She was still here. And the realization hit them both. The plan had failed. What now? Was this the moment Austin changed his mind? Did he start to have second thoughts? Or did Katie feel trapped, like she had already crossed a line she couldn't come back from? We may never know. But what happened next sealed both of their fates. Evening set in. The apartment grew darker, the light fading from the windows. Outside, the world kept moving, people going about their day, unaware of the storm brewing inside that small space. Did they eat dinner? Did they sit in silence? Or were there words exchanged, words that would haunt the final moments of Austin's life? Katie later told investigators that Austin asked her again, that he still didn't want to wake up in the morning. But was that the truth? At this point he had already survived one attempt. Maybe he was scared. Maybe he wanted to live. Or maybe he felt like there was no way out anymore. Whatever the case this time, Katie didn't rely on pills. She decided to do something else. Something permanent. Katie said she tried to make Austin stop breathing first. It's hard to even imagine what that moment must have been like. A mother standing over her son. The child she raised. The child she was supposed to protect. Did he fight back? Did he beg her to stop? Or was he too weak, too tired to resist? We don't know. But we do know that when that didn't work, she reached for a knife. A blade. A single, final decision. And in that moment, Austin's life came to an end. Just hours before his 18th birthday. And the woman who gave him life was the same one who took it away. But here's the thing about the truth, it has a way of slipping through the cracks. Because when the police arrived and Katie told them what happened, not everything added up. And soon, investigators would start asking the questions that changed everything. Stay with us, because this story is far from over. The call came in just after Austin took his last breath. Katie Austin Lee's voice was calm, too calm for what had just happened. She told the dispatcher exactly what she had done. No hesitation. No panic. I tried to stop him from breathing, then I used a knife. The words cut through the silence like a blade. Cold. Matter of fact. As if she was describing something routine, something that wasn't the end of a young boy's life. But there was something off about the way she spoke. Did she sound relieved? Regretful? Or was there something even more unsettling, like she had already made peace with what she had done? The dispatcher kept her talking, asking questions, trying to make sense of the unthinkable. But nothing could prepare first responders for what they were about to walk into. When officers arrived at the apartment, the door creaked open to reveal a place frozen in time. The living room was still. No signs of a struggle. Just the quiet aftermath of something irreversible. And then, they found Austin. His body lay there lifeless. A boy who had his entire future ahead of him, now gone just hours before his 18th birthday. There was blood. Evidence of what had been done. And sitting there waiting for them, was Katie. No attempt to run. No attempt to hide. She looked at them as if she already knew how this was going to end. But as detectives would soon realize, the story she told, it didn't all add up. The medical examiner worked through the details carefully, piecing together the final moments of Austin's life. The deep wound on his throat, the cuts on his arm, the signs of struggle, or maybe hesitation. One thing was certain: Austin didn't pass away peacefully. Did he fight back? Did he change his mind? Or did he never want this to begin with? The more investigators looked, the more the so-called suicide pact started to feel like something else entirely, because the evidence was telling a different story. Detectives sat across from Katie in the interrogation room, a mother now a suspect. They went over her story again and again. Austin wanted this, she said. He asked for it. He begged her. But if that were true, why did he have defensive wounds? Why did he survive the overdose, only to meet a violent end hours later? And the biggest question of all, was this ever really a pact? Or was this something far more sinister? Because when detectives looked at the timeline, the evidence, and the way Austin died, something wasn't right. And as the truth started to unravel, it became clear: this case was about to take a turn no one saw coming. A mother's story, a son's final moments, and a confession that didn't tell the whole truth. Because what investigators would find next would change everything. Stay with us, because the most shocking part of this story is still to come. The night Austin lost his life, his mother lost her freedom. Katie Austin Lee was arrested on the spot, led out of the apartment in handcuffs. The woman who had just confessed to taking her son's life showed no emotion as she was placed in the back of a police car. The weight of what she had done, if it was there at all, didn't show on her face. At the police station, officers formally charged her. The weight of those charges? Heavy. Murder. A word that stripped away every excuse, every explanation she had given. This wasn't just a tragedy anymore. It was a crime. And Katie wasn't just a grieving mother, she was a defendant. The courtroom was silent as she walked in for the first time. No tears. No outbursts. Just a woman standing before a judge, accused of something unimaginable. The prosecutor didn't hold back. They laid out the case piece by piece. The so-called pact. The failed overdose. The final violent act. And then, the truth investigators had uncovered. Because despite everything Katie had said, the evidence painted a different picture. Austin had injuries that suggested he didn't go willingly. That he may have fought in his final moments. Was he trapped? Did he try to change his mind? Did he ever even agree to this at all? The courtroom was still. Every word from the prosecutor weighed heavy in the air. And Katie? She just stood there. Watching. Listening. But what was she thinking? Regret? Or was there something else behind her eyes? Something darker? The news spread fast. A mother taking her own child's life, just before his 18th birthday. People in the community were shaken. Some couldn't believe it. Others said they always felt something was off. Neighbors who had seen them together. Teachers who had once had Austin in their classrooms. Friends who remembered him as quiet, reserved. And then, there was the family. Did Austin have relatives who tried to help? People who saw the signs but never knew how bad things really were? Or was he alone, with only his mother by his side, until the very end? The weight of what happened wasn't just felt in that courtroom. It rippled outward, leaving behind a hole that could never be filled. What? It's the question that haunts every case like this. Why would a mother do this? Katie claimed it was Austin's choice. That she was only doing what he asked. But if that were true, why did it end this way? Investigators began digging into her past. Looking for signs of something deeper. Mental struggles. A breaking point that no one saw coming. Was this an act of desperation? Or was there something more disturbing beneath the surface? The answers weren't simple. Maybe they never would be. But one thing was certain. A boy was gone. A mother was behind bars. And the truth, whatever it really was, would never bring him back. The trial was still ahead. The final verdict. The last chapter in a story that never should have been written. But before we get to that, there's one more piece to this puzzle. Because as the case moved forward, one last revelation would leave everyone stunned. Stay with us. The story isn't over yet. Even after all the evidence, all the testimony, and all the revelations, there are still questions that may never be answered. Did Austin really want this? Or was he caught in something he couldn't escape? If he changed his mind, did his mother ignore his pleas? Or was this never his choice to begin with? Katie Austin Lee told her version of events. But was it the truth, or just the story she wanted people to believe? No one will ever truly know what happened in those final moments, except the two people who were in that apartment. And now, one of them is gone. A tragedy like this doesn't just end in the courtroom. It lingers in the empty chair where Austin should have sat, in the hearts of those who knew him, in the voices of people who ask, could we have done something? Mental health, desperation, the unseen battles people fight behind closed doors. Did anyone see the warning signs? Could someone have stepped in before it was too late? Or was this always going to happen, no matter what? This case has left a mark on the community, on the people who knew Austin, and on everyone watching from the outside. A mother behind bars. A son whose future was stolen. And a question that lingers in the air. Why? A life lost. A mother accused. A story that never should have ended this way. But the hardest part? Knowing it could happen again. Somewhere, someone else is struggling. Feeling trapped. Feeling hopeless. Maybe the only thing that can come from this tragedy is the hope that someone else, somewhere, finds a different way out. Because no one, no child, no parent, should ever end up here. What do you think? Could this have been prevented? Let us know your thoughts. The information presented in this video is based on publicly available data and sources. The purpose of this content is to raise awareness about the issues and events that are happening around the world. While we strive to provide accurate information, we may not always capture the exact details of an event. If you were present at the event or have first-hand knowledge, we encourage you to share your perspective and engage in a constructive dialogue. Our goal is to spark meaningful conversations and raise awareness, not to spread misinformation.